Hey YouTube, this is Kevin Bolin of Bolin's Small Engine, and today I wanted to show off a build that I'd made about 6 years ago. I had had several people comment on how much they really liked it, and I just thought it would be nice just to kind of show it off, give people a few ideas as to how they might potentially make their own. It's been several years, so bear with me guys. I'm trying to remember what all the parts that I used. Use your imagination, okay? I mean, to be honest, most of this was made out of just scrap lawnmower parts, okay? I do know that this particular piece right here was a mount for a Sears Suburban. This piece came off of a Murray. It's part of the deck assembly. This, of course, was part of the Murray seat. This came off of an MTD, and I think it's just a deck hanger. This bar right here, which is an extending bar, is used basically just to, well, you'll see in a little bit, to extend, this assembly here, the clamp assembly, for various chainsaws. I've got it set right now to where, to be honest with you, I haven't had any problems. I haven't had to ever adjust it, even though I made this option. But the way that you would extend it would be by this 1/4 bolt right here. You can see there's two little spacers underneath here, and I can actually pull them through. They're holler. They're actually just spacers for jack shaft assemblies. This came off of a Craftsman. It's part of the steering assembly. Bolt, as you can see, that I welded. It's just a regular bolt, okay? Nothing special. It's a carriage bolt. I think it's 1/2 inch. And as you can see, this actually can be raised and lowered. You can see why the spacers come in so handy. And like I said, all they are is jack shaft spacers. If you know anything about Murray, you'll realize that the jack shaft assembly is part of your blade adapter and your spindle, I should say. But it's a really handy tool, and I just wanted to show it off to everybody. Like I said, my friends said that they never seen anything like it, that it's built actually better than some of the stuff that you would buy. And I gotta admit, after looking on eBay and seeing some of the things that they have on there, yeah, I have to say that I think this is a lot better. It's definitely more solidly built. If you're wondering what these two knobs are, they're just adjustment knobs for push more, okay, for the handles. The spacers, of course, came off the back end of a seat of a lawnmower. This is just a deck hanger off of an MTD. These are just 5/16 bolts. There is also this assembly that I made, and I'll get to that later. It's for weed eaters. It works exceptionally well. To be honest with you, it's really amazing how well this works. But without rambling on, I'm going to pick up an old chainsaw here that I have. It doesn't run. This is just for demonstration purposes. It's an 028, and I'll show you how this actually works. You can run a chainsaw You can run any chainsaw on this, no matter what the size. I apologize for everything kind of being dirty. I haven't had a chance to clean up the building yet. Basically, the bar that I showed you goes in the back against the handle, or I guess I should say the bottom of the handle. The spacers go on, then the knobs. And if you're wondering why you would actually tie a chainsaw down like that, I'll be honest, it's really helpful when you have a carburetor you're trying to tune, or if you're tacking a chainsaw, which I highly recommend. If if you're going to do this, you might as well do it right. you really need a good tachometer. I wouldn't say that it's imperative, but, well, yeah, I would. I think it's pretty imperative that you have a good tachometer. To be honest, I've seen more chainsaws burn up because people, you know, they don't tack them, they try to richen them too much, or lean them out, shall I say, and they burn them up. As I was explaining earlier about this bar, it's adjustable. As you can see, I'm unscrewing it. I'm trying to get about midways in the bar. Now if you look at the bottom, I'm trying to leave just enough space that this chainsaw bar, or I'm sorry, this chainsaw actually had a chain on it, it'd be able to turn. And all you do is tighten this up. It's just a little jam nut. And you would tighten the clamp up against the bar. Now if you're wondering, would the clamp actually hurt the bar? Not really. Although there are a few people out there, you know, that would say, well, what do you do if you have a new bar? It's really simple, guys. I've got two little rubber bushings that go right in there and it will not scratch the bar. Howsoever, I gotta be honest, the rubber bushings, they're not necessary, okay? I mean, if you got somebody that's being that particular, use an old bar and chain. I mean, you know, so, you know, it's just something to basically show you guys that, you know, there's several things you can do with this little outfit that I'm trying to show you how to make. One thing is, if you got a chainsaw you want to sharpen, okay, it's really handy because of course you can just pull the chain, sharpen as you go. And as I said before, if you wanted to tack it, here it is. You know, you could just sit there and pull the trigger and hold it wide open and tack it without worrying about whether the chainsaw is going to hit something and kick up, you know, and hurt you. You know, kickback is pretty dangerous. You see in the service school manuals that we go to, several people, you know, have been hurt by just putting chainsaws on a bench and starting them, and you know, they'll hit something like the edge of the bench or you know, the little table or whatever, what have you, you know, that they're using. So I think this is just a safer alternative. If you make this little device, it can, you know, make your life so much easier. This also does pivot. I don't know if I've mentioned that. I'm going to show you that it does. Keep in mind, guys, I'm trying to film this and do it all at the same time. So all I'm going to do is just show you that it pivots, and then of course I'm going to go to the weed eater assembly that I made. So if you wanted to actually loosen this, you can see that this would actually pivot. Now this thing's going to swing down pretty quick. As you can see, all I'm doing is just a spring, a couple of washers, and I'm going to go ahead and loosen this up. As you can see, I'm just unscrewing it. Sorry it's taking so long, but I'm doing this with one hand. And I'm also putting my weight against the chainsaw. There we go. And as you can see, the chainsaw can be lowered. I've never used this feature. I guess it's pretty obvious, but I feel like, you know, the option's available if you wanted to. It's not that problem, you know, not that big a deal. I got my son in here now. He came in. I could have used you about 5 seconds ago. You could have helped me hold the chainsaw.
I sort of broke something. He gave me a walking stick and I broke it.
You broke the walking stick?
Yeah, I was trying to be Kung Fu Panda.
Great. Anyway, like I said, this is a pretty interesting little device. If you was interested in making it, it's not a problem. I'll be more than happy to even show you in more detail as to how I made it. But as I said, you know, it does pivot. And most of the parts you can find on Murray's, Craftsman, and an MTD. Your typical riding lawnmowers. Justin, you want to help me for a minute? Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen this up, and I'm going to show them the weed eater assembly. You think you can pull this off for me? Here.
You think later on that you could like show this on and make it
Yeah,
look too?
yeah, I can help you with that later. Here, just go ahead and pull this out. Lay it down on the floor. Just lay it down on the floor somewhere. And I'm going to show them this. This, of course, is used for weed eaters. I use this quite a bit. It's a very, very handy little tool. And as I'll explain here in a minute, basically it's the same thing as like the chainsaws. It's just used to tune your weed eaters, basically work on them. But it's built better than what you would particularly buy out there. Some of the stuff that you'll buy is just junk. Light aluminum, it'll break. If you look into it, you'll realize what I'm saying. I mean, it's just, you know, they're inferior. It takes a little time to make these, but they're well worth it. I've got a weed eater over here, and I'll show you. I am in no way a fan of Troy-Bilt, but be as it may, I'm going to at least show you how this works. Justin, you do me a favor. I'm trying to hold the weed eater and do us all at the same time. Well, you are, yeah, thank you. Can you hold it a little better? Thanks. And as I say, I'm going to leave the washer off, but you'll be able to see that this works exceptionally well. I'm just using a smaller washer. If I hadn't had the camera in my hands, I could have put the bigger washer on. But you can basically see what I'm talking about. You can see it basically clamps the weed eater in. And then you have the option that you can, of course, start the weed eater. You know, this weed eater here, like I said, I don't hold much faith in it. I'm not a big Troy-Bilt fan, but this basically shows you how this little assembly works. What I like about it, you have these little rubber buffers. You're not going to scar the weed eater. This is the jacket that goes around the seat cushions that mounts it to the pan on the back of your seat. You can pull these off. You know, there's nothing special about this. This bracket here that it's been housed in is the same type of bracket that I showed you earlier, you know, for the chainsaw. You know, this, it came off of a Craftsman. It's part of the steering. But as you can see, pretty handy little tool. And as I said, you can work on any part of this weed eater. I'll show you. Basically, you can grab the weed eater and just twist. And I can work on the spark plug. If I wanted to work on the spark plug, I can take off the back cover. You know, pretty self-explanatory at this point. Fuel lines. And for most applications, it works perfectly. As I said, if I needed to tilt the weed eater up, as you can see, this is a square tube. I can just take it, twist it, put it back in, tighten it up, and I can work on the top if it was more convenient to look straight out on a weed eater. Not necessary, but it's a big blessing. I'm going to go ahead and end the video now. If there's any questions about this, leave me a comment. I'll be more than happy to show you more into detail as to how I went about this. Basically, I just wanted to show this off because I've had it for so long, and it works exceptionally well.